Hello, everyone. I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to talk about my art book, Crippled Inspiration. This particular art book is a compilation of the photos, interviews, and happenings of the OSR Grand Caravan 2011 project. Yay! This particular project is one of the largest projects I did in the entirety of my modeling career. Bryan and I had been going to OSR, the Ohio State Reformatory, for several years. And each year that we did it, we grew a little bigger until we got to this point where we had a caravan of like 30 people, multiple cars, and 2 trailers. We had photographers, models, we had a couple of designers, we had a trailer full of over 10 designers' designs for this, and we hit up multiple locations. This project was massive, y'all. A big thing that we enjoyed doing was doing these fashion editorial projects at abandoned historic places like the Ohio State Reformatory, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and abandoned places that we'd find like the Brickyard. And in one of our later caravan projects, we even found a random abandoned house that had been burnt down, and it had a lot of odd surprises. We also, in this particular project, went to a historic site called the Bisman Building, which was a factory building that, you guessed it, just like all the other places, was incredibly haunted. So this particular art book includes the fashion side of things, but also the paranormal side of things. It's a little bit hard to see on this video, but the photos in these editorials are absolutely gorgeous, and they were taken by a variety of photographers to come together to make all of these amazing photo sets for both Cloud Orchid Publishing and for other various fashion magazines that we submitted to. This particular project brought in the most tear sheets that we have gotten from any other project that we've done. And several of these photo sets were done with specific fashion magazines in mind. So we specifically created those scenes in order to submit them to very particular fashion magazines. And by this time, we were already very comfortable with creating editorials and submitting them to fashion magazines. So this was just a regular thing that we did. This particular project is especially special because we pulled together so many different models: me, Ophelia Darkley, Seth Nays, Aaron Pribble. We also had Silver Stark act as both a designer and a model. There were a long list of models we also collected along the way, like Goodnight Greta and Mara and Jocelyn Lark. Just so many, y'all. There's too many people on this massive project to list. Bryan was one of the photographers. Brett Stoddart was one of the photographers. We had a bunch of assistants. Like, this project was massive. So all of us hit the road together, and we stopped first at the Bisman Building in Mansfield, Ohio. This is a particular historic building where it is a factory building. The basement was incredibly haunted, and then also there is an upper story level that is also incredibly haunted because there was a man who was decapitated in that particular floor of the building. And it was because he rode a service elevator. The saddest part is on his last day of work, he was going to retire that day. Last day of work. And he stuck his head and his arm out of the elevator to wave goodbye to everybody. And the elevator kept going. It was an old-fashioned service elevator. It didn't have those like little safety sensors. It just kept going and he died. And what was really interesting was one of the editorials that was not planned, but it was taking advantage of the environment we were in. And that's also a big reason why we love shooting at these kind of locations, is that you never know what kind of stuff you're going to find to interact with. And with this one, there were tons of dead birds all over the floor. And so we did an editorial piece that centered around these dead birds that we found. Obviously, we did not touch them. We made sure that the models did not touch them, that they were just close to them so they were in the shot. Because as we all probably know right now, bird flu is running rampant and it's becoming very scary. And even back then, you just don't touch dead birds. You just don't. There are just, beyond bird flu, all kinds of diseases that you can get from touching dead birds. Just don't. Unless you are someone who is experienced with disposing of wildlife, just do not touch dead birds. So we were always very careful with doing these editorials in these abandoned and historic places, because there are hazards like that, whether it's dead birds or it's used needles or glass or just unknown things. It's just best, to not touch it, to make sure that you are aware of your surroundings and to not touch things. And of course, rule number 1 is you are not allowed to take your shoes off. No barefoot. Do not. That's how you get scary diseases, is walking around barefoot in places like this. So that was really interesting to take advantage of that scene. And Seth was the model that I used for that piece. And they did an incredible job of modeling with these dead birds. It looked so beautiful. It was so forlorn. We ended up having that in 3 different fashion magazines. Absolutely gorgeous. And that was also part of who we selected for this particular project. Was we selected a lot of experienced models that we knew needed very little direction in order to make these particular editorials come to life. These were models that we worked with a lot, as well as these were models that at the time were my friends. And I also went out of my way to even create Pinterest boards for this particular project, different Pinterest boards for different editorials with the outfits and the inspiration and all of that, and showed them to the models that we were working with so that they could get an idea for the overall vision of what we were going there to create. So everyone went in prepared with, this is what we're going to accomplish. Of course, there's also going to be the random stuff that we just do on the fly based on what we're feeling, the vibe, the environment that we have at our disposal, as well as the OSR event is a yearly event where all of these models and photographers get together to all create things together. Now, there is a bit of controversy around me and Bryan and our crew doing this event for those years, because a lot of the photographers didn't like that we didn't really work with the other people that were there at the event. We kind of brought our own people and we were kind of an isolated group doing our own thing, and we didn't really work with the other people. In particular, there were a lot of photographers at the event that were big mad that they didn't get to work with me specifically, because I was like, I'm here for this. I'm not working with anyone else. I'm sorry. I don't have time for that. Because truly, we didn't have time for just doing rando outside things, because we had a list, y'all. We had a list of, these are the things we're going to do. These are the editorials we're submitting to other magazines. And this was also when we were first developing Cloud Orchid magazine. Cloud Orchid magazine was first published in January of 2013. This is important because during this time period, we were submitting to a lot of other fashion magazines, and we started to realize, this isn't very hard. I'm a writer. Bryan's a professional photographer. I'm a professional model. We have a whole crew of people that we do all of this with all the time. How hard can it be to build our own magazine together? And so we did. And just because of the glut of all of the content that we created on these adventures over the years, and then specifically for this particular year that this project was done, we had more than we knew what to do with to put in different issues of Cloud Orchid magazine. Crippled Inspiration is a part of Cloud Orchid Publishing and not Cloud Orchid Magazine, as this was created in 2013, but it was created as a full art book. And this is also around the time when we were starting to move away from doing so much fashion work and moving more toward art and publishing and writing and things like that. This is when we were starting to transition, and 2014 is really when we started to transition away from doing the fashion magazines. And so with the glut of all of the content that came out of just this project alone, we had so much to utilize for the years that we ran Cloud Orchid Magazine all the way up to 2016 into us becoming Cloud Orchid Publishing from then until now. We regularly publish things via Cloud Orchid Publishing from 2013 on, and it's in recent years that we've been really focusing on my novels and moving further away from our fashion and art roots. That's not to say that we won't do more of that in the future, it's just that we're focusing more on my writing than we are our other projects for various reasons. But this particular project is just an absolute snapshot in time of this was the height of my modeling career. This was also the height of us working in the fashion industry with creating these massive editorial projects and working with massive crews of people. Like, this is what you see glorified in the movies about things about models and the fashion industry and stuff. This is it. This is the part of my life where I, for a very brief time, got to live that. And y'all, it was as incredible as you can imagine it to be. I am so grateful that I got to have these incredible experiences and work alongside all of these amazing people. But that's not to say that this was all fun and games. This was a ton of hard work, a ton of planning, and there was also a dark side to things as well. The amount of work and planning that went into this project, and then the amount of work that went into executing it and then following up at once we had all the content, just absolutely enormous. And the fact that it largely depended on me and Bryan. It was just a lot, y'all. This is why back then modeling was my full-time job, is that I don't know how anybody could accomplish all that we accomplished and have a full-time job on top of that. Just the amount of time and effort it took to build all those Pinterest boards, to be able to send them to the models and the photographers and the other people we were working with so they could see the full visions for the different photo sets, for the different editorials we were going to submit to for magazines, all of that, and then coordinating with all these people, what time and when and where and all of that, that we were going to all meet up to build a caravan. And y'all, I mean a caravan. Like, we had a line of cars. There was like 4 or 5 of our cars together on the highway, and 2 of us had full-blown trailers attached to our SUVs, hauling stuff for this project. Just photography equipment and designer stuff and luggage. It was so much, y'all. Coordinating who was going to be in which vehicles, because you can only fit so many bodies in a vehicle, especially with all the stuff that was also packed in all the vehicles on top of everything that was packed in all of the trailers, and coordinating who was going to drive, who was not going to drive, who was incapable of driving, because several people in our group didn't even have driver's license, so they couldn't help with driving. So coordinating all of that, coordinating where we were going to stop, or, you know, when we were going to stop to get food and go to the bathroom and all that, where we were going to stop for the night at hotels, which locations we were going to shoot at, which days. All of that, y'all, happened in this project. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible, and it took so much coordination, and it's honestly shocking how smoothly everything did end up going. Of course, there was drama. Of course, there was craziness. How can there not be when you're just trying to coordinate with that many people, especially in the fashion industry? It's a lot, y'all. So on this particular caravan trip, we went to the Bisman building, and we went to the Brickyard, and we went to OSR. All of that is included in Crippled Inspiration. And each of those locations had multiple outfit changes, makeup changes, all of that. And having to do that at a location that does not have electricity and does not really have a place for you to like traditionally set up and do makeup and sit comfortably and stuff. Like, it was sitting in the back hatch of my Jeep. We had just piles of just all of our stuff that we had to bring. And I had to pack it in such a way where it's like, all right, this is the stuff for outfit 1, this is the stuff for outfit 2, planning all of that. And then being like, all right, you need to put this on, I need to scrub your face and redo it for this. I was in charge of all of the wardrobe and all of the makeup. I did all of the everything for everybody. It was so much on me. And then on top of it, I also had to do all of that for myself. And I also was modeling in all of this stuff as well. So, also being an active person who is also modeling and doing their own makeup and putting their own stuff on and taking care of everyone else, that was a lot. And Bryan was kind of like, above it all, kind of helping to, coordinate in the larger vision sense. I was doing kind of the nitty gritty herding of, hey, I need you to sit your butt here so I can do your makeup. Whereas Bryan was like, all right, I'm going to be in this location of OSR. I need y'all to come over here. And then when he, would be shooting with those people, when he'd be done, he'd be like, all right, I need you to go back out to this place and I need you to go tell so-and-so they need to meet me in this other location in OSR to shoot blah, blah, blah. And so just, coordinating that with, we didn't have like effective ways to communicate with each other a lot of the time because we were on the road. We were in these places that didn't have electricity and really didn't have phone reception. Keeping it all together was a beast of a project, y'all. And we still to this day have content that we haven't released, that we haven't done anything with because there's just so much of it. And all of it is absolutely beautiful. And I hope someday in the future we can release more of this content as, we work through things, as Bryan has made his recovery from cancer, just going through life. We hope to put together, more of the content from these projects. I don't see us doing big projects like this anymore due to a variety of reasons, but hopefully in the future, Bryan and I can do some cool adventures like this together. So y'all will have to stay tuned for that. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.